With Fancy Farm less than a month away and 4 months until the election, Kentucky's U.S. Senate candidates are spending big, attacking each other.
Wave 3 News political reporter Theo Keith says in some cases the facts get ignored. Here's his latest reality check.
Like a Kentucky summer day, the ad war in the Senate campaign is heating up. First, Allison Grimes, now Mitch McConnell, are attacking each other on the air. But their claims are getting old.
The truth? Grimes supports Obamacare, which cuts $700 billion from seniors' Medicare.
This is misleading, and it's not the first time a Republican has made this attack on Democrats. The Affordable Care Act does not cut payments to seniors. Instead, it makes cuts to private insurers and hospitals if they don't meet certain goals. Republican Paul Ryan liked the idea so much he relied on similar cost savings in legislation that he's sponsored.
That's how Obama and Grimes will pay for Obamacare.
This part of the ad is false. Kentucky's Secretary of State didn't get a vote on the ACA. Would Grimes have wanted changes? We'll never know. But McConnell isn't the only one going negative this week.
I'm Allison Lundergan Grimes, and this is Dawn Disney from Clover Lake, Kentucky.
In her first negative ad, Grimes comforts a retired coal miner whose question to McConnell goes unanswered.
I want to know how you could have voted to raise my Medicare cost to $6,000.
We rate this false. The claim goes back to 2011 when Republicans were sponsoring a bill that would have privatized Medicare over time. The Democratic-leaning group sourced here in this ad says the bill would have cost seniors a lot of money. But it wouldn't have cost Dawn Disney. The plan didn't call for any changes to people who had already retired or who were about to. Several media reports have blasted the ad for that error, but not exactly in the way McConnell claims.
News media call the Grimes-Obama Medicare attack laughable.
In fact, the Washington Post said that about ads in another state, but not here in the Kentucky race.
I approve this message because I'll work to strengthen Medicare, not bankrupt seniors like Don.
As for the man at the center of all of this, I talked with Dawn Disney on the phone. He says he worked in an eastern Kentucky mine for 34 years, and he is a registered Democrat. But his address is actually Cumberland, Kentucky, not the more folksy sounding Clover Lake. I'm Theo Keith with this Wave 3 News Reality Check. When at first you don't succeed, try again. After we rated a Grimes claim about Medicare false, the campaign uses a second coal worker to ask a question of Mitch McConnell.
I'm Allison Lundergan Grimes, and David Stanley lost his coal mining job in Letcher County.
Stanley then draws a connection between a comment McConnell reportedly made about job growth with the loss of coal jobs.
Mr. McConnell, in the last 2 years, we've lost almost half of our coal jobs in eastern Kentucky. Why did you say it's not your job to bring jobs to Kentucky?
This needs clarification. State statistics show eastern Kentucky has lost about 6,000 coal jobs since the start of 2012, or about 45%. But is McConnell to blame for that? Both sides of the coal debate, the Kentucky Resources Council, an environmental group, and the Kentucky Coal Association, say competition from natural gas, cheaper western Kentucky coal, and federal regulations are the factors. As for the second part of the claim,
why did you say it's not your job to bring jobs to Kentucky?
The Beattyville Enterprise quoted McConnell in April as saying economic development is a Frankfurt issue. That is not my job. McConnell has said he was misquoted. The newspaper stood by its story. The event wasn't recorded, so there's no proof that either side is right. So it's time for us to move on to another attack.
Allison Grimes' latest negative ad, turns out it's a lie.
This one from the pro-McConnell group Kentucky Opportunity Coalition goes on to imply that Grimes doesn't tell the truth about a lot of things.
She's done this before. Caught running a dishonest attack. Caught breaking her promise to defend Kentucky coal in Washington.
There was a recording of the event referenced here, and Grimes didn't defend coal in her public comments toward Senate Leader Harry Reid. The Grimes campaign, though, says she and Reid talked in private. But this is still misleading. The ad makes it seem like the Bowling Green newspaper cited here said Grimes broke her promise. Instead, it was McConnell's own campaign manager who was quoted in the story saying that. I'm Theo Keith with this Wave 3 News Reality Check.
It's a race that's gone from cockfighting to coal.
Now guns and President Barack Obama are center stage for Kentucky's U.S. Senate candidates.
And tonight, political reporter Theo Keith puts the latest claims through a reality check.
Mitch McConnell wants you to think I'm Barack Obama.
You'd be forgiven if you thought the U.S. Senate candidates were in a race to show who likes guns the most and who agrees with President Obama the least.
I'm not Barack Obama. I disagree with him on guns, coal, and the EPA.
Allison Grimes' claim needs clarification. Before we get to why, here's McConnell firing back.
Allison Grimes thinks shooting a gun will convince you she's not like Barack Obama.
McConnell says Grimes is closer to the president's views than she lets on.
But Grimes twice supported Obama's platform for Obamacare, for the war on coal, for Obama's foreign policy, and, ironically, for gun control.
This is not the whole story. It's true that Grimes did endorse Obama and the Democrats' platform in 2012, but McConnell's ad doesn't tell you what the platform included. Grimes does mostly back the federal health care law, but she has criticized the president's policies on coal. In 2012, Democrats also advocated for a ban on the sale of assault weapons. With that in mind, let's revisit the Grimes ad.
I'm not Barack Obama. I disagree with him on guns.
The Grimes campaign says she would not have voted for an assault weapons ban, but the reason her ad needs clarification is that Grimes told the website Politico last year that she supports expanding background checks for gun sales. Asked about that this week, a spokeswoman says criminals and the mentally ill should not be able to buy guns. McConnell plays this as his trump card.
Oh, and you know who also did a publicity stunt firing a gun? Barack Obama.
The publicity stunt part of this is misleading. This photo of Obama was released during the debate over gun control, but it was actually taken months before the Sandy Hook shootings when that debate intensified. Still, in this Senate race, there's been plenty of posing with guns to go around. I'm Theo Keith with this Wave 3 News Reality Check.
Outside groups launched million-dollar TV ad blitzes today, hitting both of Kentucky's U.S. Senate candidates, where polls show they're vulnerable.
Political reporter Theo Keith rates the claims in his latest reality check.
In Washington, Allison Grimes would help Obama.
Get used to this message. The conservative group American Crossroads says the word Obama 7 times in just 30 seconds.
Grimes backed Obama's re-election, even after Obamacare threatened jobs and our Medicare.
This is an old claim, and it's still misleading. The Affordable Care Act does not cut Medicare payments to people. It does promise cuts to private insurers and hospitals if they don't meet certain goals.
Grimes endorsed Obama's party platform, his war on coal, Obamacare, everything in between.
This needs clarification. Grimes did support the president's re-election in 2012, but what about these issues? Grimes repeatedly says she doesn't support the president on coal, that she mostly supports the health care law. And then there's this word, amnesty. As we've explained before, the immigration bill referenced here wasn't Obama's plan at all.
Sure seems Mitch has Washington working for him and not us.
On the other side, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee is spending more than $1 million this month in Kentucky alone. And this is what they're paying for you to hear.
You or Mitch? After 30 years, who's doing better? Mitch has voted himself 6 pay raises.
This, too, needs clarification. McConnell has voted to allow automatic pay raises for members of Congress, including himself, and his pay has more than doubled over his 30 years in office. But the ad suffers from a case of selective memory, as McConnell has also voted against pay raises several times. Let's get back to the ad.
And here at home, incomes are down 9%. Kentucky has fallen to 44th in jobs and lost over 43,000 manufacturing jobs.
Kentucky ranks near the bottom in unemployment, partly a result of lost manufacturing jobs during the recession. But the ad doesn't make clear what role McConnell played in that. I'm Theo Keith with this Wave 3 News Reality Check.